Okay, so I'm going to be talking about my experience volunteering with Coalition for Kids in Johnson City. So Coalition for Kids was founded in 1998 by Randy Hensley and Mitch Cox. When they were on their way to work every day, they just noticed driving by the lower income areas of Johnson City that these kids didn't have access to the resources that like their kids and other kids near them had. So they decided to start up an organization to help these kids out. They started with only like 5 to 7 kids and just 1 employee, but they've expanded tremendously over the past 22 years that they've been open. So this agency exists to provide a nurturing environment where kids can get their hearts, minds, and bellies fed. That was their original mission, and they've kind of stuck to this mission over the years, even through all their expansions and stuff. So they incorporate faith-based aspects into their program to feed kids' hearts. They provide homework help and different learning enrichment activities to feed the minds. And they have obviously after-school snacks and their nightly dinners to provide for the kids' bellies. So the populations that they serve are the underprivileged children, kindergarten through 8th grade in all Johnson City schools, and they actually have a new location in a Bristol City school as well. So I served at Kids City, which is their main campus. It's the newest one, and it serves several different schools throughout Johnson City. But they also have individual sites at Mountain View Elementary and Southside Elementary, as well as in the Keystone community. So the root causes of the problems for these kids is poverty. So the lessons that we did on poverty, especially watching that video in class, really helped me and prepared me for what I'd be dealing with at this organization. And many of the parents, they just work so much that the kids are kind of left to fend for themselves after school and in the summer. So this organization just gives them kind of like a safe space to be, provides them with food, backpacks, even school supplies at the beginning of the years. And they also have like Christmas presents that they provide for each kid if they need it. So they just really do a lot to help the kids, because really the main issue that they're dealing with is poverty, which causes different effects. So the funding for Coalition for Kids comes from 3 main sources, which are grants, special fundraising events, along with outside donations. So they actually hired a grant writer very recently within the past few years, and this has helped them a lot with getting the money that they need to continue their programming. And they, like I said earlier, they recently renovated and moved into the Kids City building, which is where I was. And it's a really, really nice space. It's huge. There's classrooms, there's a gym, playground, pretty much anything that you'd need. There's another building right beside it that has offices as well. So I didn't really hear anyone complaining about that they did need more funding. It seemed like it was sufficient. But if they did have more funding, I would say that it would go toward providing the summer program for all kids for free, because although the after-school program is free for all kids, the summer program actually costs just $25 a week for families. So if you have like 3 kids, you'd still only be paying $25. So it's a pretty good deal. But I know that they want to be able to provide their services for free. So if they had extra funding, I think that's what it would go toward. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with Coalition for Kids. So my preconceptions about this agency, I kind of thought that it was going to be like all fun and games, and that there would be more playtime than learning time. But I was really wrong about this. All the kids have to finish all their homework before they're allowed to go play. The volunteers help them one-on-one with reading, math, different homework. So they really get a lot of the learning aspect in there. And it's also a lot more disciplined and organized than I expected. They really teach them how to listen, follow directions. Even just like standing in a line can be really hard for these kids. But the volunteers and the teachers really work with them to try to get them to listen and kind of promote like a calmer, less chaotic environment for everyone. And the reason I think this agency is unique is because the staff and the teachers, everyone just really cares about the kids as individuals. They really try to like learn their names, learn more about them, their situation, rather than just knowing them on kind of the level that they're at, they kind of go a little bit deeper. And this applies to not only like the volunteers and the teachers that are with the kids every day, but even like the volunteer coordinator, Miss Cindy Young. She really, the very first day I noticed, she knew a lot of the kids' names, and she was talking to them, and she doesn't even really interact with them that much. That's not part of her job, but she still makes a point to check in with them, make sure they're all doing okay. Even like the workers in the kitchen, custodial staff, everyone's just so like there for all the kids. It's awesome. So if I could change one thing about the agency, I would say that I would incorporate just a little bit more of the Christian, like faith-based aspect of it. The organization was founded as a faith-based organization, but in my experience, I didn't see very much of this incorporated. I think if I could change one thing, I would just maybe incorporate like a prayer before meal times, or maybe like a short Bible lesson just like once a week or something. Because I know these kids, they might not have another opportunity to get this. Their parents don't take them to church or Sunday school or VBS or whatever. This might be their really only opportunity to get involved in any kind of church community. So that's what I would change if I could change one thing. And what I learned about myself, so I learned that I've always really loved kids and working with them, but I learned through this that I'm better at working one-on-one or with very small groups than with like a large group of kids. It's a little overwhelming working with a bunch of little kindergarten through second graders. So I know this probably sounds really lame, but I enjoyed homework time the most actually, because it allowed me to work one-on-one with the kids and kind of get to know them on a more personal level and encourage them individually rather than like watching over them as a whole group, which mostly was the teacher's responsibility anyways. The volunteers were more one-on-one, but that's just kind of what I learned about myself. And one of my favorite experiences was with this little girl. It's my favorite, but also it's kind of sad, but this little girl, she, every day at recess, I would watch her. She would climb across the monkey bars, and so I knew she could climb across these monkey bars. I'd seen her do it. I even saw her backflip off of them. But every day, she would also come up to me and ask me to help her on the monkey bars. I would tell her, I know you know how to do the monkey bars. I've seen you do it. I've seen you backflip off of them. Like, you don't need my help. You can do it by yourself. And every day, she would still just come up to me and she would want me to help her. Finally, I did. She said she was too scared to do it on her own. I gave in and I helped her, and I just kind of held her up across, and at the end I set her down on the ground, and she ran up to me and she gave me a big hug and she said, "Thanks, Mom." And I just kind of looked at her. I was like, "I'm not your mom, sweetie. I'm just a volunteer." But it just kind of broke my heart a little bit because I got to thinking, like, I don't really know these kids' situations, and maybe she just kind of craves that help or just someone to be there for her. Maybe she doesn't get it at home. So that was just kind of an eye-opening experience that kind of broke my heart a little, but it really made me want to keep going back to this girl and helping her when I could. So obviously my service at Coalition for Kids had a really huge impact on me, even though it was cut short. And it's also given me a really great respect for teachers and other similar professions like this, because it's a lot harder than you think to watch over a class of that many kids, honestly. So I was just glad I got to kind of experience that and see, like, wow, I really should have been more grateful for my teachers during school. Okay, so what I learned about my community. So I learned about how extensive poverty really is in our community, and also the impact of poverty on children. I guess it's not really something you think about as much when you think of, like, people that are in poverty. Mostly we'll think of the adults that don't have jobs and stuff, but it really has a huge impact on these kids. I mean, I can't even imagine, like, not getting Christmas presents, not knowing where my next meal is going to come from. So it's just really nice that they have this kind of safe space other than school to go, just hang out with friends, get some help on their homework, some meals. But my mindset has really changed a lot about the way we as a society should handle poverty. I think everyone really deserves a helping hand. some people do get themselves into these situations, but some people really can't help it. But either way, I think that we should just be there for them and try to help them in any way that we can, especially for the children, because it really does affect more than just the adults. It affects the children a lot too. So the most important lesson I learned was to be understanding of others' emotions, which includes children, obviously. A lot of people, when children have a bad attitude or whatever, they'll just think, he's being disrespectful, he's not listening, whatever. So I think that we just need to kind of be there for them more and help them to navigate their emotions and deal with it in a more healthy way, rather than judging them, just asking them, like, are you okay, what's wrong? It really can go a long way. I learned that through my experience. So the challenges I faced. It was really challenging handling kids who misbehaved every day and refused to listen. There was one little boy, his first day at Coalition for Kids was actually my first day volunteering, so I just kind of felt a connection with him from the beginning. But he just always had like a really sad look on his face. He wouldn't really talk to anyone, he wouldn't play, he would just kind of walk around or stand there. And sometimes he would just get really mad. He would just yell, like top of his lungs, just yell. So that was really sad and hard to kind of deal with, and he'd just run away. So it was frustrating, and a lot of the times, since he was in my class, while the teacher was dealing with the class as a whole, I was kind of tasked with watching over him, making sure he didn't run away. So that was rough to do every day, but over time I did kind of build a connection with him and learn how he communicates, how it's different from how some of the other kids communicate. I kind of had to bend down, get on his level, talk to him in like a calm voice instead of like raising my voice at him. That really seemed to help a lot, and I learned that if he was holding my hand or the teacher's hand, he would stay with the group rather than trying to run off. So you just kind of have to learn more about these kids, and then you can kind of understand them better. And I've been thinking of him a lot during this whole situation. I hope that he has someone at home that's patient with him like he needs. But overall, I really felt very appreciated as a volunteer because I could help deal with these individual kids who are misbehaving so that the teachers could focus on the whole class. So that was really nice. They really made me feel appreciated, and told me that like they really appreciate the volunteers from ETSU and they don't know what they would do without all of us. So and my impact on the community, I think it was just getting involved with this organization and hopefully continuing to be involved with them. They provide so much for the kids in Johnson City as well as just families as a whole. And I just hope that I impacted the lives of several individual kids by just forming bonds with them, becoming a role model. I mean, studies show that kids need at least one positive role model in their lives to live like a healthy, happy life. So hopefully me and some of the volunteers and teachers there provided that for some of them that didn't already have that in their lives. And what others can do is just to volunteer with Coalition for Kids or another similar agency. Like I said, they're always looking for volunteers. They can use as many as they can get. Even just a couple of hours, like once or twice a week, would really go a long way for them. And I plan to continue volunteering here to get more volunteer hours. And I'm looking forward to that. So with that being said, I'll now show you my visual aid.